find your software. By the way, my name's Stan Henney. I'm the Business Development Manager here, but much more importantly, we have Barbara Thompson, AIA. We have, there we go. Folks, you won't believe the bedlam in this room right at the moment because we have all these computers going, and we usually just have one or two computers, and we're switching screens and going back and forth. So
there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen right now.
There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So sorry for the little bit of confusion here, but anyway. Barbara Thompson, one of our Revit architecture and AutoCAD instructors. Brian Juge is here today, and
Hello.
Brian teaches AutoCAD or Revit architecture, sometimes AutoCAD architecture if we drag him kicking and screaming into it.
Oh man, not that program.
And Revit structure. And then Tony Crawford, who teaches some of our Revit architecture classes as well as Revit MEP. And many of you know Navisworks. Yeah, recap, a lot of things.
So good morning, everybody.
Yes, good morning. Sorry, I missed you.
And with that, we also have Denny Cox, who many of you have talked to many times in our tech support department. Denny's going to lead off today and show you a little bit about the new Autodesk Account. Used to be called Subscription Center. Much easier for most people to use. And so with that, Denny, let's see, it looks like your screen's up. So I'm going to hand it over to you. They can hear you on this new mic we got.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So Autodesk has kind of revamped everything, and what used to be subscription is now called the account. And what we're looking at is the screen. My screen logged into the account, my account, our account. And you'll notice that you have a list of we have a list of every application known to man, being a reseller, but it's organized basically, it's showing everything. I can look at just my products or just my services. So whatever cloud-based services, some of them you just get with subscription, such as the Autodesk 360. These are the ones that you get just with subscription. Then there are also some that you can purchase, such as the collaboration for Revit, cloud rendering, and those types of things. You get your product enhancements. So this is the old, any of the in-between releases of information, such as the Revit R2 for 2015 was released to subscription only, and those are all found under the product enhancements here. The couple of things that we want to show you are access to downloading your products. And it looks like it's switching a little bit slow, but so we have no choice but to wait.
And Denny, well, I'll throw in for you real quick here. As Denny said, this is where you get any updates and things like that. And Autodesk has said that they will do, with the Revit product, they will do quarterly feature releases this year. So it's good to know how to do this, because to get your feature releases, you will have to have that.
I'm just going to scroll down the list here and get to the building design suite, which are what most of us have if we're running Revit anymore. But your information or your list of products is going to be based on what you have.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees
so we're going to go to the building design suite premium. What I want to point out is notice the download now button. What I'm going to say is don't ever pick the download now button. What that's going to do, it's actually going to start the download process, it's going to, you have to install the download manager. Once that process is done, it will install.
Can everybody hear us now? We were having some audio problems. Okay, good. Denny, you might want to kind of reintroduce what you're doing here. Sorry.
Wait, I have to start all over again? I was almost done.
She thought she was finished for today.
All right, so we are in the, we're trying to get, you don't see this anyway. I'm messing with the go-to meeting panel to get it off the screen, but you're not seeing that, so never mind. So what we're looking at is the Autodesk account.
And why are we here?
We are here because this is where you're going to get your software now. The Autodesk account is what used to be your subscription. So whether you wanted to or not, you've been migrated over. Your subscription login will still get you into your Autodesk account. And I'm logged in as the admin, the contract manager. And so you're going to have different access based on what type of a user you are logged in at. So basically everything's going to happen on the management tab, which is what you come in on by default. We have products, services, your updates, and product enhancements. We're going to take a look at products. I'm going to show you. This is how you're going to access your products. Autodesk no longer sends media, and they don't give it to you for free anymore. So we're going to take a look at the list of products. Whatever you have on subscription should show on your list of products here. I'm going to see if I can scroll down here. I'm going to try to get to Building Design Suite Premium.
Because we're dealers, we have everything under the sun, so it's a big list on our end of the world.
Okay, I want this to go away.
It can't. Just minimize it all you can do.
It's bothering me. Maybe if I put it over here, it'll quit. All right, sorry. I can say squirrel. Slightly distracted there.
No, there's none of us text like that.
All right, so I am having a little bit of a delay getting moved down, but so we'll talk a little bit. We can do this with any product, and since we're looking at a product, maybe I'll quit worrying about getting to the Building Design Suite Premium. But ultimately, we want to take a look at the Download Now button. You don't want to pick the Download Now button. That's going to download the Autodesk Download Manager, which that part is nice because if your download gets interrupted, it restarts automatically when you go back. It starts where it left off. The problem with it is it's a web install, which means you get to install it once and that's it. So what we really want to do is choose the More Actions option. Okay. And then under the More Actions option, you want to choose the browser download. The browser download, as it's noticed here, is the slowest, but it is going to be the best because it's going to download the entire file or group of files in the Building Design Suite. Let me see if I can, well, it doesn't matter. In the Building Design Suite, the Building Design Suite Premium has 6 files that need to be downloaded. When you start your browser download...
6? Why are there 6 files, Danny?
Because it's a big
Ours.
product. Well, because there's 9 products in it. And if we had to wait for just one to download, the one that's like, would it be 90,000 gigs? It would take forever. It's going to take forever anyway.
So
But
there's 6 really big files.
there's, yes, 5 really big files and 1 moderately big file.
Okay.
But the files are going to have a name. It's going to be the Building Design Suite _2016 _this_that. The key to it is the last part is going to be 001 _006. And those files are going to be named. So look, you have to download all 6 files. They have to be downloaded to the same folder. Once they're downloaded, you only run the first one. So by default in IE, I think you're prompted to where you want to save the download. In Chrome and in Firefox, they automatically go to the downloads folder, which is fine. But the reason I'm telling you this is because you have to pick the save button 6 times to get all the files downloaded.
Denny, does it matter what folder we save them to? Can I go with the default or put them on my own place?
You can put them wherever you want as long as all 6 are located in the same place.
Would it matter if I put it on a network location so everybody can do it, or is that not something I'd want to do?
Actually, the network location is, I think, ideal if you've got to do multiple installs, because then when it's extracted, then you don't have to copy the files around and you don't have to download them on multiple machines.
Okay.
Put them on the network and let everybody access them then. All right, so just keep that in mind, and always, I'm available. Okay, that's not true. I'm on vacation next week. I won't be available, but
And you're only,
And
what,
she's
10 or 20 calls deep today, and it'll be 30 calls deep by the end of the day?
But if you are having trouble, just go ahead and give a call, because that's something that I've helped with numerous times. Oh, one other key. You may not get multiple files if you have your pop-up blocker on. So turn your pop-up blocker off to download your Autodesk files. The last thing I want to point out is to get the physical copy. It's the software coordinator or the contract manager are the two that will have this option. You choose get the physical copy, and then it will prompt you to put in your serial number, or your credit card number, because like we said, not free anymore. But you can get multiple copies, $30 each. They'll be shipped to an address that you get to define.
Denny, we do have one question before you go. Rick asks, what would be wrong with using the download manager download? Once again, could you repeat yourself on that one?
The download manager download has it only allows one install. So if you have to reinstall your software, it puts it all in there and everything looks nice. But if you have to reinstall your software, you have to download it again.
So if you're a single person, single man office, it's okay, but
It's okay, but it's better to have the files that you can stick somewhere on a server. Actually, they're giant, so you'd have to put them on multiple DVDs. But that would be the only downside of the download now is it's a one-time install, which means you can't share it to every other computer.
with those big awesome files.
Yes.
Okay.
Big, awesome files.
Totally
Yeah.
Denny,
awesome.
thank you very much for jumping in here today and showing that, because that's an important part of what you need to do to manage this update process. So with that, we're going to now move over to Barbara Thompson, AIA, who is freshly back from Tech Camp, along with Tony.
Yes,
and
indeed.
brimming with great information. Barbara, I'm going to hand it over to you. Are you the presenter? Looks like you are. Everything's starting to come together in our world.
I think we're gonna make it. Okay. Yes. So Tech Camp was awesome. My brain is full of all kinds of stuff, and I haven't even had a chance to figure out what I learned. So
Still unpacking and
so we're gonna
downloading.
start off with a little poll.
And so we're going to come in here and just to see who the audience is. Want to know. And this is an interactive portion.
Yeah. So everybody choose your
What
option here.
current version are you using? So go ahead and click on that one choice, I think.
All right, we're going to close it in 3, 2,
Click quickly.
1. Whoa, everybody's still, all right, close. There we go. And let's show our results there. And we can see that it looks like most of us are on 2015.
That's cool.
Got a couple people on 2016. Some of us are still 2014. One person's in the Stone Age. That's okay. So we'll get to that one. And the other thing is we want to know who's our audience? Who's in the audience out there? So here we have how many architects, structural. Yes, I grouped all the MEP as one category. You can throw all the hate mail at me. This is Brian Juge. I'm the architect. So really, outside of architecture, they're all the
one.
same.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And I like that low voltage never gets their own.
Yeah.
They're the redheaded stepchild.
That's the
or
other.
redheaded stepchild.
With owners and facilities managers. All right, so we're gonna close this poll. 3, 2, 1. Only one structural engineer. Well, that was less for me to talk about. That's
Yeah, there
good.
you go.
All right, and then we'll give you guys those results there, but you can see a pretty good spread between MEP and architecture.
Brian, Grant is your structural guy, so you got something to live up
Oh
to there.
man, Grant's on board.
You're still gonna have to do it all.
Well, Grant's gonna love some of the new features on the structural side. All right.
Is there anybody I should worry about on the MEP side?
Well,
Half of them out there are MEP.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the last one I have on here.
Patrick will be trouble.
Yeah, Patrick, you got Patrick Olson, so we'll see that.
I give up now.
So the last one we have in here is how useful are the R2 features last fall? So I don't know if you guys have even heard about them, and
Is this a Star Wars reference?
well, you read the poll, you can see it on there.
Oh, I can't read it
We
from
got
here.
a lot of what is R2 coming in.
Yeah, well, at least we get some people are doing, at least we have one person, 2 people saying 3 people is very useful. Okay, out there. So we're gonna close that poll out, and this is actually good.
chance to talk about this. What is R2? So one of the things that is happening with Revit and with a lot of the Autodesk software, but Revit specifically, is you're no longer going to see like your major release. The last major release we're going to see, and Stan, you correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be 2017. And then from that, we're going to get like a quarterly release of the software from then on out. Now, part of the thing that they're...
Well, actually, you're going to see quarterly feature releases this year, we're told.
That is true.
And then there will be some sort of 2017, but then from there on out, it's probably going to go to more of a stream of feature releases as we understand it right now.
Something that happened last fall was a release called R2, and it was a feature release. They brought out a couple useful tools in there. So part of our presentation is going to have those useful tools because some of you are just unaware of it. And some of you love Star Wars, it looks like. So we want to talk a little bit about that because you're going to see throughout the year, it's not going to be one major release. It's going to be all these steady increases in the software performance, little gizmos here and there. And that's how Autodesk is going to be delivering everything to you. So what I would say is that when you guys are out there, you're really going to have to pay attention to these releases coming out, and we're going to keep you up to date on useful tools and not so useful tools as they come out throughout the year. All right, looks like we have a question out there.
Is there such a thing as...
Rick just said if everybody joined Revit Radio, they'd know this already.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right.
If you're on Revit Radio, you would have known this. Exactly. All right. So now on with the show, as it were.
Okay.
All right, Barbara, it's all yours.
Okay, well, I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to start with the new features, some of the multidisciplinary features that they've included in this new update or release. And most of what Brian was talking about with the R2, I think all of that's actually been incorporated into 2016. So if you missed that one, it's still going to be in there. We do have that webinar available as well, but if you have any questions that you say, I didn't recognize that from 2015, it's possible that you need to get that R2 update and then let us know if you have questions about what was included there. And so I'll do the enhancements for architects as well. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Juge, and he'll talk to the structural engineers about those features that you can't wait to use. And then finally, with a good percentage of our audience here, we'll go to Tony to cover all the cool new stuff in the MEP world.
All righty. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so I'm assuming everybody got past this part.
That part.
So some of the new features here, I'll be looking at the new navigation, the improvement in the navigation in your models, and a few other features as far as the way that Revit regenerates. It's a lot faster. We've got some improvements in rendering, and then just some other workflow things. So for architects and the platform tools. First of all, we have what's called progressive display. And so what that means is that while you're navigating in the model, it's not going to pause to regenerate at each step. So it's going to make your model navigate better if you're doing an orbit or spinning the model around, and it'll be a lot more efficient for you. Now this is set by default in your options. It's turned on to allow navigation during redraw. So this is going to make things faster as far as that goes. If you really like to wait for regions, or if you need time to check your email or whatever, you could turn that off and go back to the other way. So this is included during pan, zoom, rotating, and orbiting that model.
So it seems to be a better enhancement than what they did in 2013 when it was just a view change or graphics change on that. So they're steadily improving this throughout the software.
Yes. So. The next thing that's really going to be useful is that when you're working in a site plan, so if you've drawn your site, you've got the building on there, maybe you just kind of put it in there before you actually had the Project North established. And so now if you've already placed text, if you had regions, before it would just leave those behind when you did the rotate. And so this is going to, you might have gotten this warning in 2015 that I have over here, that when you, so when you did this in 2015, you can't rotate those elements into this position. So I'm going to switch to Revit, and let me go to my view that has a site plan in it.
Now, it's important to remember, just a reminder, that what Barbara is showing you now is the cross the platform features in Revit as a whole. So these will work in any of the segmented Revits.
Yeah.
Right. So what I've got here is just a site plan with a building on it, and I drew a little patio with a filled region. And so this is one of those annotative objects that would have previously been left behind. But now when I go to the Manage tab, let me go to my position. So right up here, oops, my arrow's not working today.
I better not catch any of you out there doing filled regions for patios either, okay?
It was just an example.
I know, but
So I'm going to choose my new rotation, 90 degrees clockwise, fine. Now we've got a new message that says, okay, to rotate project north.
has
Let me just turn
successfully rotated 106 elements.
Yay! And I just drew right over it. And so let's pan over there to see what that looks like now. Oh, pan. That new panning feature, it's awesome.
Pan, 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 pan. Sorry.
All right.
Sit down.
yeah.
There we go. Our patio's rotated. I zoomed in so it's a little fuzzy, but my pan isn't working for some reason.
Oh.
I just put a new battery in my mouse. I don't think it's working
did you just
right.
use the Zoom It tool?
I did. Zoom it.
Oh.
I actually
That's
got it
something-
to work that time.
Yeah. That's something new that Barb and I learned this weekend.
Thank you, Brian. Somebody show me how to use this program. Okay.
Brian put a new pan battery in.
Yes.
He did. He did that so fast, too. That was awesome.
You have to type pan, enter, right?
All right.
There you
Cool.
go.
Well, that's going to be a helpful one, I know, for people doing the site plans or anything like that. I get that question all the time, especially in landscape. We're doing a lot of landscaping, and people are using filled regions, which, okay, I'll allow it, I guess.
Just don't
a
let
little
Brian
bit,
catch you.
but that's
Yeah.
been a nice one to have.
And so that is all the view-specific stuff, and it'll also keep your links all in a row. So this one, I really like this one too, Open Sheet View. So what this does is you've got all of your views set up in the project browser. Then now what we could do, so we're going to be down here in the project browser. Now what we do in Revit is actually just go back to Revit. And then I can right-click on any of the actual views. Now I'm going to switch. I'm not sure I got none of these sheets in this project. So let me go to another project that has some sheets in it so we can navigate to the sheet view. Let's go over here and switch to this one. And so I'll zoom in on the project browser, and I just have to pick a view, right-click. It's going to show me that view on the sheet. Only this one, for some reason, that one doesn't want to open the sheet. Or you do have that option there. So let me find one that'll go to a sheet. Open sheet. So it navigates to the sheet where that view is placed. Because as you know, you can only place a view on one sheet. So being able to find out which sheet that is on before you try to place it on another one, you can quickly zoom to the sheet location. Oh, I forgot about that one. We're going to come back to that one later. So Tony wants to talk about the...
Yeah, I want that one.
Yeah. Never mind, you didn't see that. So another great enhancement they have is the rendering engine. They've added the Autodesk Ray Tracer to your choices when you go to do a rendering. And so if we look up here, now there are two. We got the Ray Tracer and we have the NVIDIA. So we've got the Ray Tracer that's been available in your display options at the bottom of the screen. But this one is so when you actually go to do a rendering, then you can choose between the two. Now the other improvement that we have is that it's doing rendering on your CPU now. So it's quicker, it's going to be more efficient than before. So we'll just open the rendering dialog box. I'm not going to actually do a rendering here. So let's go and pick a 3D view. So they have a rendered view. But when I go to render, actually I don't want to render in the cloud. 3D views. There we go. So render. We're waiting for the rendering dialog box to come up. So the one that's like that. The slide that I was just showing. Yeah.
Anybody know why it's a teapot?
Why is it a teapot, Tony?
That's a good question. That's a trivia question. Anybody in the audience know why there's a teapot? Brian, do you know why there's a teapot?
I know why there's a teapot, but I'm gonna let the audience.
I have
Yeah,
a good guess.
Because it's been a teapot since AutoCAD. I don't know when. Has it like was?
It's been a teapot since I was a young man.
It was a teapot since 3D Studio Max.
So they borrowed that.
Yes.
So
The
where-
way Studio Max was it was determined that the teapot was a hard surface to render with all its concave and convex forms, so they were going to use that as the default for a rendering tool, and that is the default component in 3ds Studio Max.
But before that, why did 3D? Why else? There's some history.
It
There's some
also
history.
shows you all the shadows that you had to create,
Yeah.
the shading for a circular, I guess.
Yeah.
That
let me
type
know
of
if
a
anybody types in
form.
an answer.
And so here we are on the rendering dialog box finally, and now you have your choices: the NVIDIA Mental Ray or the Autodesk Ray Tracer. So you got options. Always more options.
Actually, Lindsay. Keep going.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's see. We lost my place here. What you talking about? Okay, and then lastly, with the last thing that I'm going to cover is just a little improvement from in the, oops, that's the same slide. Next, energy analysis. So you have a little more capabilities of doing these energy analysis within Revit. Now you no longer have to export them to a GB XML, then have to bring it back in again afterwards. You can do it within Revit. It'll bring up your reports, your analysis, your comparisons. You can do that right within the Revit software.
Barbara, one of the things that I like about the energy analysis too that I'll bring up is that this is also a much more robust energy tool that allows you to really do much more comprehensive energy analysis. Not full tilt, but much more comprehensive throughout the whole modeling cycle. And I think that that's an important thing that's been missing up till now as well.
All right, well, with that, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Juge for the structural engineer part.
Awesome.
And
Now you
folks,
guys are ready.
keep
ready
in
for
mind
it.
that we only have an hour here, so we're really running fast. And so if we miss something, let us know. Revit Radio's tomorrow. We'll throw it at Mackie and Juge tomorrow.
Oh, Juge won't be in. I've got to be in. I got to travel again. And you guys will not be blessed with my presence, unfortunately. I know you're all heartbroken. All right, so structural enhancements in here. I will tell you, there's been a ton of stuff done in rebar. So for those of you architects that do a lot of rebar stuff out there, you're going to be ecstatic about all the changes that can be done. The rest of you, just hold on and I'll just ramble for a little bit and talk about what's new, and you can zone out until Tony comes on board. All right, so we have the rebar constraints, the improvements that are out there. In other words, you can put rebar in and you don't need to be in section or a call out or a floor plan view cutting through that. You can be actually in an elevation to put that stuff in. This is stuff that was available in R2. There's a lot more graphical enhancements a little bit. One of the great ones, though, is we have this constraint slope to face, and I'll cover that in here. So now I've got some pretty pictures in here sloping the rebar in this direction. And at first, you've got to pay attention to this because these are for path reinforcements, not necessarily for regular rebar. So if you come in here and you go, oh, I'll do my regular rebar and I'll be able to slope it along the angle. Yeah, so far I tried doing that. That's not going to work. Then I came back and kind of read the notes and says, for path reinforcements, we can go along a curved, a polyline, or something like that and actually have those enhancements in there. Now, if you're getting into a lot of rebar drawings, there's going to be a lot more enhancements on how they look, your minor bars, major bars, so filters that are going to be kind of available for you to do that. There's going to be some staggered rebars, so we can go in there in the path reinforcement and switch out each individual bars. This diagram doesn't quite show it, but you can switch out the different shapes for each one, the different stirrups in there. But you can see there's circular distribution. That's what they're showing at the top in here. rebar placement position. So now they can see the big old shift button over there. We can hold shift down as we're placing the rebar and lock the direction that the rebar is going as we're starting to sketch that in there. And again, this is available for, I believe, just sketching rebar. I could be wrong on that, but when you're going in there sketching that. So if you've got any battered walls in there. So any of you Bureau reclamation guys out there, if you are out there, there's some great tools that were a lot harder to do before that now we can do a lot more nicer things with that. So rebar enhancements, they keep going on and on. We're able to go in there and have rounding for rebar, which has been great. So now you don't have to have like 3/64ths of an inch on there. You can have it round up or round down to those extensions in there, which has just been a nice thing to have. And I'll show you that. I'll show you guys some of these things in a second. So we have a lot of these things in here, and we'll find that in the settings in there. So I'll go to the settings in there and look at this. We also have some other things for the host, where the host mark is, the host count. So when you're going out scheduling, I won't quite get into that, but there's some great things in there. And then, like I said, there was the display settings in here. So now we can go in and get some better display options within the structure. That was a lot of the rebar settings. And then we have some other settings in here having to do with those that are going in and doing analysis and putting in there. So a lot more for detailing. They've added some new categories for cold form steel in US, Canada, and I think Europe. Those are the 3 new categories that they've added now to the list for different sizes and cold form elements in there. Oh, there they are. So there you go. Yeah, so I knew it was in here. So the new steel content that's available to you in those different units. So if you're working overseas, you can get access to those. Here we have the load analysis that they're constantly enhancing out there. I know very few people go in and use this. But they are big improvements that they're making within the software that you can now run, set it up within Revit, run it in a robot or RISA or RAM, whatever you need to get into for sending that project data out there. We've also got some, they did a lot of connection details in R2 on how you can improve the end details. I don't think that's part of this, that slide in there, but this beam is, let me remember that. And now we can go in and look at the connection design and explain a lot more of the top, the bottom. This works with beams and within slabs. So you can say that I want to go, if you have a slab with finished material, I don't know why structurally you would, but maybe you have to show carpet or something. You can actually have it say top of slab rather than top of carpet if that's part of the whole functionality in there. So some really nice things for indicating tops of levels with beams and with slab or floors, I should say, not necessarily slabs. Yes, Stan?
Just real quick. Yes, we are moving pretty quickly. We do have an hour. I will tell you that if this will be recorded, so you will be able to watch it again and slow Mr. Juge down a little bit if you want to. But also, if you do really want a set of the slides, send us an email and we'll send you the slide set if you'd like.
Yeah, and I know we had one person say I'm going too fast, and again I was looking at, well, that's why we pulled the audience. We had one or two structural people, one structural people that I saw.
We have
Two?
Elizabeth and we have Grant.
Oh, Elizabeth. I apologize.
Anyway.
And so I was trying to get to Tony as fast as possible, but I'll go back a couple of slides in here. And so here we have the new libraries that are available for your steel framing on there. And then I think I'll go back one more. So the new properties, the details in there, the new shape types, like I said, the cold form. This kind of relates to the other library that was available in there. So hopefully you get a quick glimpse of that. And wanted to get into software a little bit. So now we're back to the beams and locations in there. They now have a new gravity analysis in there. I know a lot of people aren't really getting into this, but we can go in there, and as we're starting to do our analytical set up our loads and everything else, we can do a gravity analysis and then indicate which members we're going to apply for that, so that we can run it through whatever appropriate program we're running those analysis in, whether it's robot, on the cloud, or separate. Yes, you can run analysis kind of within Revit. It's not within Revit. It's actually on the cloud using robot. or you can be running these in your other perspective programs, RESA, RAM, or a couple of other programs out there. All right, so
there is also, Brian, I saw at Tech Academy, there is a structural analysis toolkit you can get from the Exchange, and I think I've included that in my Revit there, but it includes some of the stuff Brian was just talking about as far as the structural analysis.
All right, so a couple things to talk about. And one of the nice features, I know Tony's going to show this, but I like doing it anyway. You got this in the section box. Okay, I won't do it. I won't do it. All right, so like I said, you can when you're putting in rebar, I'm in an elevation view. You can actually select the element and actually add rebar within that view. So if I wanted to do a stirrup, oh come on, barrel. Of course it's not going to let me do it. So I can go and put my rebar in. I'll do shape 1. That's always a good one to put in there. But yeah, we can start putting in our shapes within the parallel coverage or perpendicular within the coverage of the shape itself. That's what we did in some of these. So I can start looking at those and lining them up. Within here, if we go in and do, the tagging, now we can go in, not the tagging, the elevation marks. So when we start looking at the elevations in there, we're starting to get the beam elevations inside, and there are some enhancements with that. So you can start looking at the top of levels within the software in there. Now, the one I really am excited about is the rebar settings. So part of the rebar settings is you now can start doing rounding up to the nearest increment that you want. So if you want to go to the nearest eighth or nearest quarter for the bar length or the segment length, you can now put that in here and use that within the schedules within the software. It looks like we have about 15 minutes left.
15 seconds, you said?
15 minutes left.
Yeah.
So
it's just MEP.
unless we have a specific question about any of them, I'm just going to jump on to...
Why are you moving over?
Oh, wait, I did have one more.
Are you still doing some of this?
Yeah.
Are you done yet?
No, I have one in here that I thought was kind of cool because everybody misses this, the joints in here. So they did do another one. It wasn't in the deck, but if we come inside and we go to the Modify tab and we come over here to the wall joints, you now have allow or disallow the joints, which is pretty cool. So now they separated that. You no longer have to go find that magical dot and remember to right click on it. You now can do this all within the wall joints and clear that out. You have seen that in Revit Radio if you guys are paying attention, but I just want to make sure if you guys aren't paying attention to Revit Radio, you now can go in there and do the wall joints. You no longer have to do the mystical right click on the dot and say disallow joint to get that done. You can also do that right within the wall cleanups, which was one I'm like, that's cool. That's a really cool one.
Because right-clicking on that dot had to be obvious to everybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you could always find it.
The other one I like, it is from R2, is this little button right here, Reveal Constraints. I use this one all the time when I go check people's stuff out. So Reveal Constraints, I can actually turn that on, and I can see what's been equally constrained within the model. And that is, you can see displays in 3D. So pretty cool. I'll just go out to a whole model, click on this, and see who's locked what in the drawing or what's equally constrained. And then it just makes it really easy to do. We can go in there, and I can select it and unequal it, and now it's gone and it disappears. So there's just one of those things. I'll hit undo and bring that back. But that's just been a huge tool, this close reveal constraints. I use that all the time when I'm trying to assess models in there. They've made some improvements for pinning. Now it only just displays so many pins, up to 250. So you can't get any more than 250 pins on the screen, I believe is what the limit is. But yeah, it's one of those things that in there. We can now go in and change the reference for beams. So if I want to come in and this will work a lot for structural, for architectural structural uses. So you can see I'm changing the end of the beam and stretching it over from one point to the other. We can go in and do this again, and I can say change position and select that plane, and it'll move that back and forth. So those are just some things from R2 that weren't in the slide deck. I wanted to show you that those are in there, along with the new features from 2016. So with that, we're going to end up switching it on over to Tony. And
Tony, while you're getting
I'm good.
switched over, I'm going to talk real quickly. There's been several questions about Revit Radio. Revit Radio is kind of a fun thing we do every month. Brian Mackey comes in Many of you know Brian from his blog and so forth, and then Brian Juge is here, and
Most of the time, anyway.
Most of the time, it's a great way to waste an hour and a half of billable time. We have a lot of fun, and we get most, or at least some of your Revit questions answered.
We get them all answered.
Well,
They might not be.
No.
The answer is no, or we'll get to it later. But we always get them answered.
Yep. And we also do similar programs called Civil Chat for Civil 3D and AutoCAD Answers as well. So we have a lot of fun with those. But anyway, Tony, it looks like you're ready to go.
Well, I did have a question for Brian.
Looks like you need to
Reveal Constraints. Is that a brand new tool, or was it just in the ribbon before?
It is a new tool developed in Art2.
Okay, that's all I needed.
From subscription, if you're on subscription. But a lot of us weren't on subscription until this year, so I figured I consider it a new feature for at least half the people out there.
What I don't like about it is they already assigned a keyboard shortcut to it. And in case you couldn't find it, it's C as in Charlie and X as in X-ray, because Reveal Constraints obviously has lots of C's and X's. But more importantly, that was my keyboard shortcut since Revit 2008. The first one I ever made for close hidden windows was C for close and X for the windows. So now I'm constantly doing CX to close my hidden windows, and it pops up with constraints.
I'm sorry to hear that, Tony.
No!
All right, Tony's going to do
Work my
MEP.
workflow. Okay, I have little less than half an hour.
Revit
So
MEP.
there is too much. I will sum up.
You got 12 minutes, buddy.
All right. So this is a platform thing. It's not specifically MEP, but I called dibs on this one, and I had
It's
to
one
fight
of the
for it.
coolest ones out there.
It is.
Stole
And
the thunder from the
this-
rest of us.
is something that actually came up with the Gunslingers, which is a event where Autodesk invites just a handful of people to test out the new version while it's in beta, and they want us to break it and find the bugs while there's like 24 people instead of 24,000 people complaining and breaking. So this was a feature they didn't even have prepared. They weren't going to ask us about it, but so this is the building that I have up. I'm going to go to a floor plan. I'm going to go to a floor plan. Let's see. Actually, I was going to go another room. But they asked us about it, and it got very positive reviews. What do you do? Select stuff on the screen.
That's a technical
That's
term.
a technical term. And on the thank you, modified tab that automatically comes up, there's a brand new tiny little button there. It even has a keyboard shortcut, section box. Select that, and bam, there's the object. There's the rooms in 3D that I had selected. Previously I would create a 3D view, maybe have to rename it, right-click on the cube, orient to a view, which is still a cool tool. This has been my favorite tool in Revit. I can orient it to a floor plan, a section, elevation, but it took me 25 seconds to do it. This takes me 2 seconds to select an object, click a button, bam, I'm done. And this is really useful in MEP, I think, because now I can see where everybody's at above the ceiling, where it's tight in 3 dimensions. I can see, okay, I have pipes, I have duct, I have cable tray. Where are we at without creating, there's my lights. Oh, I have pendant lights. What is that doing in the ceiling? I can see where everything's at. I can see where all the other disciplines are at very, very quickly.
No, real quick, Shannon. This is a platform tool that's available in all of Revit, not just MEP.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, even though Tony wants to steal the thunder and say this is the greatest thing for MEP, it is the greatest thing
See, those
for
are
all of
stairs.
us.
That's architectural.
Yeah.
Yeah, they always use architectural
And
examples.
structural.
All right, so specifically for MEP, I'm going to go kind of quickly. There's information out there. Honestly, this is big. This is huge. This is a giant change within the programming of Revit. It's really big for a small section of the market. This is a game changer for just a handful. Actually, we didn't put this on the poll. It was just MEP, but I'm going to ask if you could type in if there's anybody on the fabrication side, or if you're a designer who's
just a question here on that.
doing, if you're a design side but want to do a level of fabrication level of detail, you can now do that in Revit, asterisk. It's not fully there, but you can do it for the first time ever within Revit. I'm going to switch over to my floor plan. So just very quickly, I'll just show you. So previously in Revit, on the Systems tab, I can draw a duct, placeholder duct, blah, blah, blah. If I draw a duct, and let's say you're on the fabrication side, I just do a duct. Oh, let's make this one 50 feet long, 49, 50. I just drew a section of duct. It's 50 feet long. How many of your fabricators can fold a piece of sheet metal 50 feet long? You can't even buy it. Well, I'm sure you could, but yeah. Revit draws one piece of duct. That's not realistic. So let me show you what you can do now. There's this little button. Where'd it go? Systems tab.
It's little. It's hard to
There
find.
it is. I was staring right at it. On the Systems tab of the ribbon, of course, there's a new button, Fabrication Part. Okay, it's one button. That opens up another palette. And it's a palette. You can move it over. You can dock it on top of the others. You can have them tabbed or layered. I forget what the exact tool is. You can have 4 or 5 of those now. Within that, well, let me start at the top. I've only loaded, I just grabbed a couple of them. There are some out of the box. You don't have to buy other software, but I'll come around to that. You probably kind of really do have to buy another package that goes with it. But for right now, this is just the first generation. This is just a start. It's not fully there yet, but it is there. There we do have something to work with. So these are a couple of them. I just grabbed some random ones.
Tony, I will say there's a lot of people really wanting some information on this. Real quick, CAD-1 is working hard to get ramped up on fabrication, and we're forming some alliances and some other things to help us help you get there. We're not quite there yet. Autodesk is having a webinar on the fabrication stuff. I believe it's next week. Again, send me an email and I'll try and send you the link to it when I get back to my desk if I can find it again. And then I've seen, and I know some of our people have seen the 2- and 3-year roadmap for fabrication, and I think they're going to get there, but it's going to be staged over a couple more years. So that's kind of how it is.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah, there's definitely more coming. And what I'm doing is I'm picking parts. I'm using what would be called the attacher in CAD-MEP. Sorry, it's not called FabMEP. That has its own story, but it's CAD-MEP. So I'm adding pieces that are, well, let me see. I'll put a dimension on this. I'm a keyboard guy, so I type DI. This is, any guesses on how long this is? 59 inches long. Is that
Sweet.
59? Yeah, whatever that math is.
Yeah, 60 is 5 feet.
Thank you.
So some of us architects know how to add, and the MEP guys,
math is hard. That's why I went into engineering. Because you get whatever you can adjust the length. Say like the steel that comes in, it's this length, and then subtract out what you need for the bends, the folds. So it's actual size, and you can change. You can change the size. You can change the group. What do you want to put in there? Anyway, you now have this ability. I can draw straight pieces. I can put in elbows and bends. This ties into. Oh, let me just show you. Hit the space bar. It rotates just like in Revit. If you can see the purple circle with a purple X, that's the connector. You can use the built-in Revit connectors. Oh, and you can, so this has been fabrication part mostly, you can connect it back up to the Revit parts. You can use them interchangeably. See, I'm snapping. It has that connector, which is awesome. It's not just placing it, it's actually connecting it. And there. Oh.
Ooh,
Wow, that's cool.
Sorry.
I didn't know that's how you did that.
That looks like an architect did that one.
Yeah, I can do
I'm
that.
gonna hit. Anybody know what the most used key in AutoCAD or Revit is?
Undo.
Undo. Okay, so if I need to less clicking and more talking, or one or the other, but not both. So you can use them. You can go back and forth. So here I have that Revit. Oh, let me just see. Whatever. There's the Revit duct that I did earlier. I will put in a fabrication piece at the end. I'll put in a fabrication elbow. Using spacebar. Most everything is a few things that aren't 100% back and forth. You can use these parts back and forth. Now, with the caveat, well, I'll show you. I selected this one. It's a duct. It's a Revit duct. I'll select the fabrication part. Sorry, hit the right button. There we go. I'll select the fabrication part, and it tells me it's a fabrication part. Okay, fabrication part selected. Can't change it back to a Revit family.
What?
The Revit family, I can change it to another family. Revit family, I can't change it to fabrication part. You use one or the other. If you need to switch from one part to the other, you can delete it and draw it again, or you can export the whole file to, I believe it's the MAJ format. But there is other information on that I don't have time to go into because we have, yeah.
And you're right, Patrick. That does stink out there.
Yes.
I had a question. Can you use airflow calculations with fabrication parts?
Wow, what an interesting question. No.
Ouch.
It-
You
it's-
think that might come about though? I mean,
Yeah.
that's going to be
Yeah.
pretty
it will come
detrimental.
about. It's probably maybe next year.
Hold your breath.
Don't.
I
Yeah.
mean, we can't say for sure, but
Pure speculation.
yeah.
I mean, it's good that we're seeing this now, and we've been asking for this for years, and now that we're finally
Yeah.
getting there, okay, be nice
Yeah,
to
so
see more.
At
but-
least it's the first release, and it works. I haven't had it crash. Cross my fingers. Of course, I haven't spent 8 hours straight using it yet. I've barely been in the office 8 hours. But it works. And what is there, they have it set up to work, which is honestly in the pre-release and the beta, they just had the elbows. You couldn't even put in straight pieces. So I'm glad to see straight pieces. So this is the first step. This is the first year it's in there. There is undoubtedly more coming, but it is a workflow. It is possible now. So if you're a designer working on a design assist project, maybe the engineer is drawing the mains and the equipment, and then the sub fabrication come in and say, no, this is how we're going to build it. This is how we're going to draw it. You can work in the same file. If the contract requires that you have a Revit deliverable, you can now do that to fabrication level. And one of the big things, I'm actually going to back a slide, the big word, that marketing orders, you can utilize your investment in Autodesk Fabrication, CAD, MEP, etc. What that means is there's thousands and thousands, there's millions of parts already made that you don't have to make. You can make them. You can use the out of the box. You can make your own. You can customize, or you can purchase parts that have already been done. If you've been using CAD MEP, you can use those parts. They changed Revit. It will now read that file format. The ITM files can be read in Revit. That's why I said this is huge.
Yeah, no, we had a comment out here from Gene, but I tend to agree with this. This reads, this could change how contracts are written and what a design team could provide in a project for levels 400 or 500. So, yeah, this definitely starts opening up the doors for what the design team can offer. Other comments saying, well, maybe this isn't that useful if we can't switch them back and forth and we can't do calculations.
There are some workflows, but if you notice my voice is a little hesitant.
Yeah.
Well, it's like so many things that get developed. A big company like Autodesk, right or wrong, I mean, we're just the messengers, don't we? And then, right or wrong, they start adding things in. They start getting feedback on usability of them or not usability in this case. How would you like it to go? What direction should it take? So forth and so on. We ran a little late getting started, so we'll be another 5-10 minutes maybe to finish up. But please understand that a lot of this has to come from you. Here's what we're thinking of doing. Here's the direction we're headed. Tell us what you want to put in here now to make it usable. So, get involved in the forums and voice your opinion.
You showed them hangers. You better go back to that slide.
I thought I had another slide next. Just for what it's worth, hangers are only available as the fabrication ITM parts, not as Revit families.
Yep.
But you should be able to use them interchangeably.
Can you specify them for different agency?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm just thinking, are they going to be available in other tools like ceilings? I'd love to ceiling in plenty of spaces for ceilings too.
Oh.
Are we going to see?
You mean like for hanging light fixtures?
For
Or
hanging lights
for the ceiling
or
grid.
ceiling grids. I mean, I'd like to see ceiling grids and then put them in there for California and do a 5-point tie-off. I mean, if we're going to start getting hangers, let's be serious about this.
Gene says, no, not hangers.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good thing to see hangers, but I just want to make one thing. Going back to the fabrication, I think that was just like we were seeing with rebar, and rebar took a slow turn coming out there. I think we're going to see the same thing with fabrication, and all the stuff you guys are asking for in a year. I would say we'll see most of it in there. I won't say everything. I won't tell you which most I'm pointing to either.
Fabrication is coming. It looks like it's going to be pretty good and well thought out. Just be patient. Quit cursing the darkness and light a candle here, folks.
Send all your hate mail to stan.henning at...
Yeah, it doesn't do you any good to bark at us.
Now that's what I was going to say. Oh, I believe seriously, the route for that is autodesk.com/feedback. Is that right?
I believe so.
That's
Okay.
right.
Autodesk.com/feedback is where you can submit things. Like I say, I always start off positive. I love this new fabrication tool, but it would be even better if you added, X, Y, and Z usability, be able to interchange the formats, be able to go back and forth. I don't have a whole lot of time, but you should be able to export the whole design to what's called an MAJ format. That will convert to software. You can take it to the table. You can cut it out. You can do estimating. There's a whole package, a whole suite of software that works with those files. So you can take it almost directly to your shape cutters, your torches, laser cutters. Probably not torches for sheet metal. But so if you're really going to do this in Revit, you will probably need at least one of those packages if you want to start changing those files, start customizing what's in there. You can use what's out of the box. It works. But when you start customizing it, that ability is not really in Revit yet. You have pretty limited ability to change the shape files to use different bends and folds. So think of Revit, and this might be a good summary, think of Revit as an extension, as a new piece in the fabrication suite, which has always been AutoCAD based, sits on top of plain AutoCAD, additional purchase, additional software, additional installations on AutoCAD. Now you can start doing some of that in Revit, which to me is big. It's not there yet, but it's something that
Some of it's there.
3 months ago, I couldn't really do any of that. So this is
At least now you can see it and we can view it. And
If any of you are going to AU this year too, on Monday again this year, they're going to host the Fabrication Summit. On the AU usually starts on Tuesday. They're going to do this Fabrication Summit on Monday. They're not only going to do it for MEP, but for those of you who are interested, they're also doing some stuff around advanced steel and structural fabrication as well. If you go on, stay an extra day, sign up for that. That'll get a lot of your questions answered. It's a little ways out, but good place to be. All righty.
Cool.
Tony, are you?
That was
You
a really
wrapping up?
quick run through. There's a few more things. There's improved snapping behavior. I think it's pretty kind of minor. It doesn't snap the things off your screen now, and I thought it did that already, honestly. But so there's some.
So like if you don't see the end of your
if you zoom in.
ductwork or whatever, you're zoomed in, it will only snap what you see on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
And there's a few other things you can look at the flow. If it's a Revit family, not the fabrication parts, but you can. They have liters per minute now for pipe. Yeah, and there's some other stuff, but we're out of time. So let's see, Stan, did you have a summary or?
Well, do you Brian or Barbara, do you have something you want to finish up with? And then I've got a couple things to.
I would say the biggest thing to look out for is look for those periodic updates throughout the year,
Right.
because that's how it's going to be delivered to you. It's not going to be a one-time tune in May or whatever. Yeah, you're going to be looking for those as those come along. So those annoying emails you might pay attention to a couple of them out there, and pay attention. Go listen to the Revit radio or when Tony and Barbara or all the rest of us are chatting in there. Make sure you look at those updates in there. And if we jump around and go, oh, this is the best thing since sliced bread, maybe, pay attention to a couple of those. Because unfortunately, I think we will try to do a big release every year, even though it might be a steady stream of stuff. So to condense it down to one or two things, I'm hoping I'll do that more around Christmas when times are slow to give you guys gifts as doing that. But we'll be changing our format to match what Autodesk is doing. And again, we are the messengers. So this fabrication thing, if you don't like it, send all your hate mail to Tony Crawford.
That's my email is carl.bass@autodesk.com.
Exactly.
There you go.
That's what I have.
Barbara, do you have anything you want to finish up with?
Well, I was just going to reiterate, do send them your feedback, because we heard that time and again last week. Well, this is directly from the customers. This is what they've been asking for. Now we put it in here. So they didn't say how long that took, but they did say that this is stuff that people have been asking for.
Yeah, and one of those features they brought out was the double clicking on all kinds of stuff to edit it, and they said that was from the customers. So whatever customers requested that, I don't like you, because that's a really annoying thing to double click on everything.
I like it now that you can disable it. The second
you can disable it when you first came out.
Okay, so Rob's got a quick question. Rob, what's going to happen? It's not really going to be in 2017. It's going to be much sooner. It depends on the product. Some products are doing monthly releases and so forth. With the Revit products and the Building Design Suite products, they've said that they're going to do quarterly feature releases this year and going forward. Now, with the feature releases, they promise that there will not be backward compatibility issues. You know, we'll hope that that stays true. It was certainly true with the R2 and R1 version of 2015. The goal here is to get everybody on the same platform over the next couple years, so there won't be versions like 2016, 2017, 2018, etc. There will be just one platform. Your subscription will cover your feature releases, but the versioning will be the same. So hopefully over the next couple, 3 years, we'll see the elimination of having to save backwards and use an older version and blah, blah, blah. So hopefully that answers that question. And with that, I do want to mention, I think it's we think it's very important for people to start looking at tools like Dynamo. This week,
Yes.
The Dynamo Studio was released. Dynamo is a product that Autodesk has. It's open source, but they also have a studio with a toolkit in it for Revit now. Programming, and it's not hard programming, but programming is going to be very important to the future of design. I urge all of you. We have a workshop coming up on June 9th through 11th. It'll be our first Dynamo workshop, and a great chance to learn something about Dynamo. Dynamo for practical uses too, not just swirly buildings. So let's see, with that.
Yeah, so and on that, dynamobim.com is the website. So please check that out. We will be definitely getting into a lot of Dynamo. You're going to hear a lot more about dynamos, whatever. So break out your bones and take a look at it.
There we go, folks. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for putting up with the early on herky-jerkiness, and we always love talking to you. So
yep.
See you tomorrow on Revit Radio or in the funny pages in a few days from now. Bye now.
Thank you very much.